Hello, everybody. This is the African Actions Network. I'm James Jensen. I'm sitting here to have a discussion on what is going on in Niger. Last discussion we briefly discussed about Niger, and we know Niger is in West Africa and it's an African country that has a serious situation right now. The military of Niger has taken over the country, and the president of Niger is in the hands of the junta, meaning the military. It is not like where bloodshed is being announced, and so we are following the development, and so we just thought to see what we can say about that. We also are aware that ECOWAS 7 days ultimatum that was given to the junta, meaning the military, the coup plateaus, to reinstate or to allow the president of Niger to continue his service as president of our country to continue. Recently, the defense ministers of West African countries met in Nigeria. They've been discussing as to the way forward. So 2 days from now, we're going to have Sunday. Last Sunday, the ECOWAS leaders met and it took a decision that they wanted restoration of peace, and that democracy is what it stands for. So since then, the military herself, just yesterday, the leader of the military, Tijani has said that any military intervention by ECOWAS will meet a strong resistance. Not just Tijani, but we also have heard that Mali, Burkina Faso, now Guinea, they are cautioning, or they have said, any military force in Niger will mean that it's an outright war against Niger, but I mean they will be involved in the crisis. Amidst all of those things, the ordinary people yesterday also got in the street to have quote unquote a march. It's almost like a solidarity march, favoring the military junta. So the situation is fluid. And in that demonstration, what we saw yesterday was some disturbing video about the embassy of France being attacked, and people that were seen to be like civilians were trying to break into the embassy of France, and so France is not taking kindly with that. In fact, they have, I think they started evacuation of their citizens yesterday. Equally so, America herself has told her citizens to leave Niger. So these are the fluid situation in Niger, and so we try to follow on that. But before we continue, let's see whether we can have Al Jazeera had a very good piece of information. I think I was in love with what it did. So let's listen to just a few comments as to what is actually happening from some of the reporting that is coming from. Okay, this is from Al Jazeera, right? So let's see what we can witness.
Hoping to stop another West African coup in its tracks, Niger's Western backers and the regional bloc ECOWAS have frozen millions of dollars in aid. And on Sunday, Chad's President Idriss Déby met with Niger's ousted leader Mohamed Bazoum and separately with coup leader Abdurrahman Chiani in an effort to end the crisis.
I'm not able to tell you what they have discussed. You have seen President Déby. He has met with the president and with the putschists. And what I can tell you is that at the end of these meetings, he returned to Chad. So I believe that very soon we will hear about the conclusions of these meetings. What I know is that everything is in place for the constitutional order to be re-established as soon as possible.
Such measures may include the use of force.
But it's the threat of direct intervention that has alarmed Niger's military. On Sunday, ECOWAS threatened to use force unless civilian rule was restored within a week. And coup leaders have accused France, which has thousands of troops in Niger, of plotting an attack. That's been denied by Paris. Neighbouring Mali and Burkina Faso, themselves governed by military juntas, have rallied around the officers who ousted President Bazoum.
Refuse d'appliquer ces sanctions illégales.
We refuse to apply these illegal, illegitimate, and inhumane sanctions against the people of Niger. We warn that any military intervention against Niger will be considered as a declaration of war against Burkina Faso and Mali.
The US hasn't announced any sanctions so far, instead offering Niger's military time to reverse course.
We haven't made a determination yet because it is still an ongoing fluid situation. It is clear that there has been an attempt to remove President Bazoum from office. It's not yet clear that attempt will ultimately be successful, so U.S. assistance hinges on continued democratic governance in Niger.
And if Niger's military isn't swayed by the exodus of much-needed aid, it'll likely be felt by the millions of people living in one of the world's poorest countries. Alex Beard, Al Jazeera.
So that is the situation we are witnessing, and we're following through on that. And but let's face this. The question now is whether or not after Sunday is ECOWAS going to have a military force into Niger. Is ECOWAS going to go in there with a force? Do you think ECOWAS should move in? Or how? Should they request the military to ensure a return to democratic governance? Now, this is a little strange coup because the president has not been killed. The president has his phone. He's communicating with other international bodies. So what is actually happening, but he's being monitored from what we are gathering. He's being monitored by the military junta. Now there are information coming every time there are calls, international partners making discussions. As you heard in the clip that we played from Al Jazeera, the Chadian president, Idriss Deby, was in Niger, and he met with the coup plotters and also met with the president. That is a serious issue, right? Because even that meeting, there's no outcome. There's nothing that is being heard from what the current president, all he has done is calling for a return to democratic rule, asking the West to intervene and ensure that there is a return to democratic governance, meaning he should be allowed to continue his presidency. The president of Chad also met with the coup leader, I think General Tijani. Okay, so for them, they are saying that there should be no military intervention, but they're calling for governance. So how can there be a governance when the president is almost like the president is in their hands? So whether he's under house arrest, what is the situation like? It's not actually been said. But the president is still alive. He's being allowed to communicate. So that's the strangeness of this coup. Now, for example, if we look at Liberia, we have had coup in Liberia before, a bloodshed. We had civil war. We know how bloody that was. But we cannot rule out any of those things right now. For example, why if ECOWAS Sunday will be the deadline for the ultimatum given the junta to withdraw and go back in the barrack and allow the president to continue his governance. But now the military don't seem to be doing that. In fact, they have challenged ECOWAS. They say if ECOWAS make any attempt, there will be a face fight, meaning they will resist any attempt. Right? So that is the situation we keep monitoring. Should ECOWAS move in? Or should ECOWAS take another approach? In fact, ECOWAS is now divided. ECOWAS is split over the situation. Burkina Faso, Guinea, Mali, and perhaps a few other countries are sitting in there, and they are not in agreement with the other bodies of ECOWAS. So how can ECOWAS use force? Who are those countries that are going to be contributing troops if ECOWAS decided to use military force? Is Liberia going to be sending troops to join ECOWAS and go fight in Niger? Now, from our situation like Liberia, I personally wouldn't think that military force would yield the desired result at this stage. And that will plunk ECOWAS into a serious bloody bath. And Niger citizens themselves, now we see how they were in the street yesterday. They were in the numbers. All right? These people do not understand the implications of what is going on in their own country. It's in Liberia, right? We had a country more born soldier. All right, I know some of us were small at that time. We saw people running all in the street. The end result was dirty. People died. So with this crisis in Niger, we keep following what is going to happen. Should ECOWAS Sunday? We are all listening to ECOWAS. Now, I think, personally for me, I think ECOWAS was too hasty to make that statement. As much as no one will want, a military force in any of these West African countries or Africa as a whole, but they needed to study the situation and determine the ramification of whatever pronouncement they would have made. Now, they have said they will issue military force if the junta do not withdraw and go back to the barrack. And the junta have said they're not going to do that. So that's a challenge. That's an outright challenge to ECOWAS. So now what's going to happen? If ECOWAS doesn't go in, as they have said, that also sends a weak signal to the leaders of ECOWAS. So all we have to do is just to keep watching. I mean, it's a very fluid situation. America have said it. I mean, they asked some of the, I think there was some general of the U.S., and he said he doesn't believe that America is going to send forces underground. Now, what France said, look, if any of their embassy officials or citizens were able to get injured or killed, they will definitely move in. So these are the complexity of what Niger is going through right now. But right now, as it is, it's like I listen to several media institutions from around the world, and it's like the only thing that is happening right now is that the prices of goods are getting so high. But there's no bloodbath. There's nothing like, the kind of a coup where you see a lot of shooting or fighting between some forces. There's nothing like that. All right. So these are the situations that we keep following. What's going to happen in the next few days? I mean, it's anybody guess. Okay. So I would think ECOWAS should not use force. That will be my thinking. ECOWAS using force is going to be like, they wouldn't do that on the mission. To say, okay, we're going to do it just in one day time and get out. That's not going to be possible. Even the current president will probably get killed because it's in the hands of the military. Except where I'm not a military person, maybe there's some strategy as to how they can rescue him. But it's in the hands of these guys, and people are guarding him. So if forces will be on the military will decide otherwise, and then the purpose of why you're going there, it will be, well, the man is dead, which we do not think that will be the outcome. That should be the desire, and that is obviously not the desire of ECOWAS. ECOWAS want the man to continue his term as president. So these are some of the situations that we keep following. Now, what do you think? Do you think military force is the best way out? Do you want ECOWAS to move in there? How many countries are willing to contribute troops? Particularly for Liberia, is Liberia willing? What has the president of Liberia said? Is he thinking about what's going on? Is he suggesting anything? In fact, was he at the recent last Sunday meeting? Has the defense minister and high power delegation been at the meeting? Because the defense ministers of ECOWAS met. Is Liberia having a say into this situation? Are they worried? Are they thinking about what is going on in Niger? Another factor of this crisis is that Russia herself is melting into Niger situation right now. Because what we are hearing, what we are reading is that Wagner is more like involved or backing the coup plotters. And I think I heard from, I think was say what, NPR is like, Russia president, he's like saying he's prepared to even, give out guns freely. So there's war going on in Ukraine. And from all accounts, it's like that war is beyond the expectation of the Russian president. Putin thought that his special operation would have been in a matter of days. But it's a different situation right now on that side. So coming to Africa is going to be an extension of Putin's or chaos. So whether Africa is going to sit in there and allow Wagner to go into Niger, that's another situation. Because Wagner, they are mercenaries. So these people are brutal. So they get in there, what's going to happen? It might just be anybody guy. Should Wagner and ECOWAS jump into a gun battle? I don't really pray for that because civilians will suffer. Innocent people will die. And that will be a very critical situation, not just for Niger, but for the rest of West Africa. That would be a breeding ground for further conflict on the continent. Liberia is supposed to be having elections. So if there is war in Niger, take it from me, that would be a concern for even Liberia's elections. Now, we do not hope that any of our politicians will even get to be in this crisis. We do not hope. There's too much news we are gathering now, right? That Wagner is, the very moment that I heard that Wagner was saying that when Pigochi was speaking to his forces in Russia, not Russia, in Belarus, he was clear. He said they are getting contract. And that contract was in Africa, and it was a lucrative contract. That became concern for me as an individual. Because when he spoke about Africa, and I know some leaders in Africa are just gullible. Some people, in fact, just the recent meeting between Russia and some African leaders. For me, when I try to dot, my eyes, I begin to think there might be conflict between the West and Russia over Africa. And African leaders themselves, they are not thinking. They're not thinking. They're not putting their houses in order. So when there is crisis in Niger, it's just the face of what the bigger picture will be. Because America has a lot of investment in Africa right now. So to see Russia coming into Africa, that's a big game. And that would be too big for. And then, African people to sit and just think, oh, okay, Niger business, we don't have anything to say in that. So whatever the situation is, it should be a concern for all Africans. What is going on on the continent of Africa? But let me tell you something. Sometimes I think too high, and I'm wondering whether in our lifetime we will see a better Africa. African leaders have now worked in the interest of Africa for a very long time. And I think the situation of the 80s may just repeat itself in this period of our lifetime, which is not good. The period of the 80s where they were cool all around Africa, I don't think that should be a situation for us here. Okay? It should not be a situation for Africa. Let me tell you something. Africa is almost like, if you look at industrialization, you got to realize that Africa has not been developed. So one will conclude that Africa has more raw materials and minerals, so to speak. So Africa is more like a virgin place where you have, the resources are there, but the management of the resources are a problem. And because the management of resources are a problem, even the human capacity, sometimes there's something we can talk on this kind of a public platform, but there's a lot going on in Africa. Africa has a lot of advantage or advantages. But the management of the resources and even the opportunity that Africa has is an issue. So many coup plots and all of this stuff that's happening, nobody would like them. But are African working to better their own citizens? No, they are not. Most African leaders just want everything for themselves, want greed. In a kind of situation, even like the world want Africa to get better, people bringing their taxpayers' money on the corner of Africa, hunger, and other things. Why Africa cannot feed the world? You get out of the best forest, you get the resources that God gave Africa. Why you can't feed yourself? I see people running to Russia for grains while Ukrainians are dying. And you go sit and want to start negotiating for grain. All right, nation told you, Russia, look, we do not want your grains. Take your grains and withdraw from Ukraine. Because it's not just about Ukraine. There are other human beings who die in that other part of the world. So you as leaders, the best that African could have done, even if you would have decided to put it when you came back, you should have had a meeting. And African leaders should have told Putin in the face, we do not want your grains. End the war. Withdraw from Ukraine. Well, you invaded the country. So get out. We can talk about grains later, but right now, get out of Ukraine. African leaders would have said that. No matter how many tons of rice or whatever they give you, you cannot take 25, maybe million tons of rice when Ukraine is fighting to protect her own country. Her citizens are dying. Then you want to take grain from the men, from the invader. It sends no good signal for Africa. So are African having this kind of a discussion to say, look, we cannot do this. We may not sit and strategize as leaders of Africa as to what we can do. What is wrong with Africa making farm? I mean, why Ukraine doing it, Africa cannot do it? I mean, I can still wonder about these things. Ukraine are they are now supplying the world. So they are in crisis now. People are talking as though they don't have land, they don't have the natural resources to produce for themselves. Certain things should move certain people to do certain things. If grains is a situation right now, you're feeling the pinch of grains, hey, get back to your drawing board. Make farms. Improve the thing you haven't done before. Liberia, for example, Look, if Liberia need money, let's say Liberia don't have money, other African countries get money, come together and agree. Look, we supply this amount of, we encourage mechanized farming, whatever they take to make the biggest farm. You do that. Within a period of a year, you will see the result of those kind of decisions. But you can't be talking about, okay, Ukraine get war. You say, oh, we want the war to stop, and the war will go hungry and all this thing. You can't plan for 1 year. African leaders, you can't plan for 1 year. You're crying for grains, and you want to take grains from Russia. Look, like for example, those of us who were, affected as a result of Liberia's civil war, what were we eating? Almost 15 years, we were there cutting pine cabbage, eating stuff that probably we just did because we wanted to survive. So why in the period of peace, in this period, why don't you African make some decisions, especially those who are in leadership? But African right now, they're all thinking, even some of those who are not spoken, some of them are thinking very evil. Some of them are even thinking, okay, you know what? To consolidate my power, I must, align myself with Wagner, and that would be the worst thing. And I've said this, I don't even hope that any leader in Liberia should do that. Liberia has gone through so many things. That would be the saddest mistake to even do that. Okay, and now, there's some things we can talk. But all of the things that have been happening recently, they said what? There was a ship on let me see what I can put this thing out. Okay, recently they said there was a what? There was a ship, right? Fine. This is it. Recently they said there was some pirate on Liberia waters, right? So this story is not even being followed up. When I hear these things, I think beyond myself, is this the same Wagner group that's coming on the coast of Africa? Now, the Liberian government said they rescued. They said there was a gun battle. When you say those things, and we know Liberian capacity and all those stuff, don't tell me say you're going to fight pirate and there will not be wounded soldiers or some other thing will not happen. So since then, what has happened? The legislature, have they ever asked the defense authority to go, and hear from them? They said these things. So if there were pirates on Liberia territorial waters, these should be concerns. Now, so you see, if this was like the Westerners, they would have been doing a lot of investigation. Maybe the Liberian government is investigating. But it can't be like, oh, we rescue, few persons who were in the hand. Those are not, when you say pirate, they don't just come on your water. I mean, there's something they want. If they even had any group of persons in a possession, you don't want to just rescue them, like it's saying like nothing serious happening. So these are all scary situations on the continent. It could be Liberia, but if people get the kind of stuff and get over there. So the pirates that were over there, what happened to them? If you say you use a Liberia Coast Guard got involved in fighting these people on Liberia territorial water, then what happened? That was just before the 26th. So what happened? Or you think Liberia might just sit and say, oh yeah, I mean, Joe Wellen, they were for those people who own Liberia territorial water, and they said what they released. These are the people that said what they were able to rescue these people. Do you want rational people to just sit and believe this story? So you must be able to convince Liberians of what is happening, because people are hearing about terrorists, and all these people they're not just about saying it, but you must be able to show Liberians as to whatever is happening behind the scene. Because that's how people, they are warriors. These people. Wagner has its own. Wagner doesn't say it in regret. They are mercenaries. Okay? So we do not think that Liberia should sit there and be like, oh, nothing happening. If the Coast Guard, personnel were involved in a gun battle with pirates, the people who don't come easily, if the pirate gets to your territorial water with human beings on it, you say you fought and rescue these people? Is it just an easy thing to say, okay, yeah, you have to take people carry them? No, there was a gun battle. If there was a gun battle, how many persons died? How many persons got wounded? Are there people wounded at the hospital? This shouldn't be public, secrecy. There should be serious issues for discussion. The national legislators should be involved because they are there to ensure peace and security of the country. So the government said they were involved in gun battle with these people. They should not be anything secret. It should be a matter of discussing and call people to come and testify on an oath and say what they are saying, what have happened, and all of those situations. You don't have to do it openly. If you think there's a security threat to somebody, this discussion, just go in your closed door discussion. All we want is you must have honest legislators who are supposed to be prepared to go into the matters and find solution. Not just because, they're saying that CDC, we don't want this and that. Not because of that. When it gets serious and nasty, the ordinary people will suffer, they will die. So it's not just about few of you who think you can leave your country anytime when there is crisis. You got elected, appointed to serve Liberians. So when you have any kind of experiences, you say, well, they will come back to all those things. For me personally, that's my thinking. Somebody was thinking, but I thought Georgia himself would address this kind of situation, address the nation on this thing. Where there was pirate on Liberia water, that was our soldiers or our whatever Coast Guard got involved in gun exchanges and all of this stuff, but we have put it under control. Some people got wounded, we're treating this, or nobody got wounded, whatever the situation was. This is not the time for anybody to keep quiet. Let me tell you, the globe there's a lot of things that happen nowadays. So this is not the time for people to sit and say, you know what, not everything Georgia is going to talk on. And now even George Weah told him you shouldn't be president. Let me be honest with you. A president represents the nation. There are issues, the very first person will speak. There's on issues, even defense ministers will talk. All they do is collect all the information, everything they do, whatever they're doing, the president comes out and he speaks. It's the contrary now. Maybe finance minister will come, you want to talk like president, right? Or will send somebody else to come and talk. These are the weaknesses within your system. Now, what we're talking here is there must be time when you sit and imagine the way the world is moving. There's too much crisis in the world. If Liberia, you make a mistake, you start in a war, America is not going to come to your aid easily. There's a global problem that America is involved with. So you must be thinking about taking every step, preemptory, discussions to make sure that you do not get involved or nothing will ever get Liberia into where Liberia was before. Niger situation, I think Liberia being the oldest African country, the oldest West African country, should have a better sense and an experience. They should be able to say something, share your experience with ECOWAS, so that even ECOWAS itself will be able to say, okay, you know why? We will listen to Liberia. Because Liberia been through it. Coup, civil war, Liberia been through it. So you can't sit and act like you don't know. They should be listening to Liberia more. But if you're a leader, I don't even know whether George Weah went. I didn't think so because I didn't hear it. Maybe I missed out other news, right? But if George Weah went to the ECOWAS meeting, what is Liberia's position? Is that something that we can hear too? George Weah should be saying, look, you know why Liberia's position in the Niger is why we support ECOWAS mission to get inventory force. We promise to send 100 troops or whatever number they think is going to do. That's the Liberia position. Or Liberia doesn't support military intervention, diplomatic approach to make sure that we get the coup plotters to turn the country back to a civilian rule. Whatever Liberia this country going to be. This is how people see Liberia as being a big country. But Liberia is now at the backstage. Liberia was the front runner of Africa years back when we were children. What's happening in Liberia now? Is it because of what? So we hope that things will be done with a sense of concern. I mean, you must be concerned about not just a country, not just West Africa, but the continent of Africa. And let me say this: I've had one person who be thinking about it all along. I think the leaders of Africa are failing Africans, even this time around. People will say, "Well, when you're not in power, you know everything." Yeah, you'll be right. But we're looking around what's going on. Like, for example, the simple question I will ask every Liberian: why Liberia, an older African country, has not developed this time? Why? Or is Liberia okay? If it's in Liberia, it's okay. Liberia's not okay with me. No, Liberia's not okay. If Liberia's okay, the people will feel it. They will know what it is. So Niger now, they don't have no experience. They don't know what war is. I saw the number of citizens of Niger in the street yesterday supporting the coup. Right? So what should that happen? Should Africa, West Africa, go in there with their soldiers? It will be bloody. They have innocent people who have no ideas what's going on. All they do is, when they see other people in the street, they join the street. That's not the best way to proceed. It's because their leaders too should be telling them. The coup leaders should be guiding them because they should now be telling them too. But no, the coup leader wouldn't do that because they want to see civilians in the street to demonstrate, to tell the world that, look, this is Niger's problem. People should not bring force here. But they don't know what's going to happen. Right now, it's like there is sanction on that country, food or whatever things not going in that country right now. In fact, just yesterday, I think yesterday, Nigeria supplies Niger with current electricity. So Nigeria cut off the electricity, right? So with all these things that are interplaying, the ordinary people, again, ordinary people normally under the kind of situation, it's not expected that they will know better. Those who know better should be the politicians and the leaders. They should be guiding the people so they cannot be caught up. Because, for example, ECOWAS say, well, maybe if ECOWAS are they're not going to tell anybody when they're going in. So a group of people in the street moving about doing that normal thing. Somebody will just get up and go buy maybe a candle. Right? So those who know better should be guiding the people and see whatever going to happen next. But it's sad. I mean, we do not support expansion of military. Right now, it's like, the U.S. government a few years ago, they said there were a lot of jihadi movement in Africa, in the west coast of Africa, and terrorism was getting on the increase. And I think with what we're hearing right now, somebody was saying something yesterday about Sierra, but I don't have full detail. I think there's no news on that. But I think this is time that leaders, even Liberia or such, will be having some serious, some of their official meetings. Maybe they're doing it, all right, to decide which way to go. Is ECOWAS going to send troops in there? What should we do? Should we contribute forces? The AFL, is AFL prepared? I don't know. But Liberia is not even saying a word. And I doubt whether Joe even went to that meeting. The head of states of ECOWAS in Nigeria, he did not, because Joe already go. He always gave the first thing we want to see the plane are carrying, the plane are bringing, and people spread a red carpet. So these are concerns because it's not happening right now in Africa. Wagner, Liberia election set. So now we shouldn't say those things. People you want to say that, but people should keep their eyes on Liberia's election and be very honest with you. Everything should be done to maintain the peace and security of that country. If anybody think, and the saddest thing is to get young people who come from nowhere and get them power. To relinquish power is hard. It's very, very hard. Now you talk about where you have armed group or in the region. People are crazy. They may just want to take advantage of some of those things. And some people, those who plan the kind of evil, they can always think ahead of time. So Liberia must just be careful. And I always tell Liberians, you see something, say something. Do not sit and allow the problem become, a mountain, and you want to turn it to a hill. It's not going to be possible. It's not about that. By the time you say, oh, they want me a part of the government or this and that, or a part of the group and this and that. No. Liberia, you've been through it. I don't think anyone, whether you're in government, or you're out of government, you're opposition, whatever, it's a time that everybody fight for the peace and security of our country. The world don't have too much time. If you start war in that place there, or you're causing a war in that place there, you're going to go through it. ECOWAS will say, well, we'll be in that place before our citizens die. We're not going to go in there. So that's how people should be thinking, and that means to bring pressure on those who are leading that they shouldn't get involved in anything. There's not time to even feel simple at the fun. This Islamic jihadi group and all those things, some of the people just because of, it shouldn't be said, but some people just follow ideas of religion and get involved in all kinds of stuff. So we do not think that Liberia should go that route. That would be my take on all of these things. Niger situation, Liberia should have a voice. Okay, but how to go about it? It should be a thought. And you cannot do it without having a meeting. Cabinet meeting should be, by this time, going on. Finding solution, or not solution per se, but how do you handle the crisis? Has Georgia called ECOWAS a leader? This is Liberia position. I don't know. So these are the situations, and we just try to cross our eyes on it. For Liberia's election, we keep following that. the election in Liberia, we just pray for free, fair, transparent elections. It shouldn't be where, somebody lose election, then they say, okay, my son getting Wagner around here, let me start contacting them before even election day come. When you lose authority before, you lose election except you resign and go and sit down. Not because of you, people are going to bring our country down. Our country is somebody say is charged. You have plenty human beings for war in our country there. So many over there, they were in Kosovo. Well trained, they went through the bush and all of those stuff. So Liberia shouldn't go that route. The ordinary people will suffer, people will die. Nobody encourage crisis. So these are things we talk about. We keep following what is happening in Niger because Niger crisis has several legs. Like I said, Russia and America, they got their own situation. So Russia, whatever they're doing, that whole Sahara Desert belt from Guinea, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger. So even with Chad, we're looking at Chad. Chad is playing with the information I read about Chad, I think they're doing much better because they have gone in there. They have met with the president, Basu, and they have met with Tijani. Tijani is the military leader. They say he's the head of state. So we have president head of state in Niger, right? And it's sort of cool. I don't know. It just looks strange. Honestly, as I said, it's strange. The president is there. You're having his phone. You're having communication with other people around the world. So, but I know maybe just confine him somewhere, right? And there's a lot going on in the continent of Africa, and I don't think that's the way to go. African leaders are not thinking about developing the country. They're not thinking about their citizens as they should be. Like someone was saying, cool. Most often as bad as they are, but sometimes when people subject their citizens to cruelty, to hardship, sometimes these are some of the reasons why people get involved in undemocratic means. Somebody say, why the hell? Somebody in the world will say, why? Your constitution term ends, then you say you're going to amend constitution and extend your tenure. Thank God that other things are not crossed your mind. Even though initially the people were thinking about it, level the sedition, the one listening to what crap he said, why they want Georgia to stay for I don't know how many years. 18 years. So these are the situations. So that's what I wanted to discuss this morning. We hope that all of you will keep watching out. Crisis is not good. War is not good. Sorry, I'm not too far from the road. All right, war is not good. So nobody should encourage war. Nobody should get involved in crisis. Crisis is just, nobody need to tell Liberians, except the people who were just born yesterday. All right, those who were born probably in the 90s, they were children. 91, 92, they were children. So they didn't experience their parents were there suffering with them, taking them from one point to another. They didn't know anything. They probably thought they were fun. All right. So when they hear about crisis, they might just say, oh no, I don't think so. If I let it come, let it come. That's not the time for anyone to encourage any crisis. America has her own problem. Right? So it's time to listen more and also make a suggestion, especially when you're in leadership. Think positively, make some decisions, and then make some suggestions so that those who are in leadership will be able to think twice and follow you all. Other than that, when the world is going crazy and you get a crisis in there, no one's going to come to you. Liberia cannot even feed herself. So nothing should happen there. All right? When Ukraine grains is not being shipped, Russia is, all I think she's saying, she's under sanction. Russia cannot. Even I was thinking, how would Russia send out the donations? Are they going to put in shit? They say, no, the war has said Russia will not use any means to get our goods outside. They are under sanction. So let's say, for example, Russia wants to send 25 million tons of rice to Mali, Burkina Faso, or Niger. How? So Liberia, you're thinking how you can make more fun. Okay, so that's just a short discussion I thought to have this morning. Oh, somebody is saying here, what? Wagner. He said, we the Liberians stand with Russia. America has failed us. But you don't know what you're talking about, dear. Then Jean Bernard said, well, I'm watching, okay, from National Port Authority, Morovia. All right. Okay, let's see. I don't know who is it. Aaron Bani? Is that Bani? Aaron Bani say, well, they stand with Russia. If you stand with Russia, that means you are telling me that you support the death and suffering of Ukrainians. And then you support the invasion of Ukraine. No democratic person should ever think that way. I don't know whether you are a Democrat, maybe. I don't know. All right. But I wouldn't support you on that. I don't support Russia's invasion in Ukraine. I can say that even upon whatever. Right? Peaceful people, you know how many human beings have died? Even Russians, you know how many Russians have died? Have you ever followed some of these statistics that are coming out of Russia? Russians are dying. You know how many soldiers have gone into Russia and never returned? You know how many Russians were forced to be recruited and sent out the war front, unprepared, and they died? So as a citizen of Liberia, you have a right? But I wouldn't support Russia. I don't support the kind of violence that Russia is involved in. I don't support that. There must be a peaceful process of finding solution. They went in there to say they're going to take land. Why we go to people's land, go take land? Aaron, should somebody move to your house and put you outside and take your house, take your woman or girlfriend, whatever you have? Will you be pleased with that? Well, it's up to you. That's the mindset of many of us. It's not, we don't feel the pain. I feel the pain, when I hear that Ukrainians are putting flower seeds in their pocket to go out to war front to defend their country. And that when they die, for whatever reason, right? Maybe, for example, if you, Aaron, was involved in the crisis, and you told your wife, you say, well, if I die anytime, look, when you see the flower, you know that this flower was in my pocket. That was maybe I died. When you hear those things, you feel the pains of people. What is wrong with even African leader? I don't support anything of that, right? Can't say, oh, you support Russia. It's a right to support Russia. I do not support Russia to get involved and invade people's country. Wagner, what is Wagner doing now? You support that, it's up to you. I don't support Wagner. Wagner is a mercenary group. The guy in that place, they kill, they don't care. Okay? America is a peaceful society. Some of us, we're here, right? Somebody say, okay, because you're America, what are you talking? That's not because of that. This democratic society, I know it's not all peaceful, it's not all rosary here. But for example, I'm sitting here talking, right? I could not do that in Russia. So you support Russia, that's all right. Okay? The crisis in the world is going from bad to worst. And many of you are not following events. You must get to realize. Right now, let me tell you something. Russia and North Korea, they are getting up, threatening nuclear weapon on America. That's the thing you support, right? Iran, you support that. I don't know which country you're from, but that's the kind of thing you support, right? North Korea with a threatening America with nuclear weapon. Whether you have relatives here or you have friends here, but trust me, if something else happens here, there might just be a repercussion. Look at the position of America and look at the position of Russia and Ukraine. Anything that happened, let's say, for example, just think low dirty, right? If, for example, Russia decided to say they're going to send nuclear weapon, America not going to sit there and say, well, let's say that we're going to kill everybody here. You think that why America will do the sit down and say, well, look, can the jokers come and kill our citizens here? America not going to say that. Sit down. And also remember, when nuclear weapon is fired, it's not just at the target. So there's a lot that will happen. Many persons will happen. How many people, for example, Liberia, how many Liberians are prepared even to say, well, look at that position on the map and tell me if something was to come, let's say, for example, the fire, nuclear weapon, all this thing, the effect. pollution or whatever you call it, nuclear, whatever, many persons will even die before they meet people who are targeted. So people talking sometimes people don't understand the implication of these things. It's all right to support Russia, all right, against America, because some of you, the one I said, I don't know, Iran as well. Maybe I would have loved to really know you better, right? So that we can also understand maybe where you come from, you know. But we hope that the world will be better. Some of us don't support crisis. No, it's not good. Some of the people who can die, some of the people who can advocate for these things. Okay, so that's how I want to come to the close of today's. This was just about talking about Niger. Niger is in crisis. The military has taken over. The president of Niger is in the hands of the military forces. Nothing has happened to him yet. There's no news that he's being harmed or he's there. He's alive. He's making phone calls. He's just being monitored. I guess he's probably on a house arrest and they get people that mining him, right? So ECOWAS has given an ultimatum, 7-day ultimatum. On Sunday, the 7-day will end. What is ECOWAS going to do? That's something we're thinking about. Is ECOWAS going to go in there with a military force, as they have said? We do not know. But if ECOWAS go in there, how many countries are going to contribute to? Is Liberia going to contribute to? I do not know. I don't know what Liberia. I don't even know Liberia's position on that, on Niger's crisis. All right. So we do not know. And Burkina Faso have said it. Mali has said it. Guinea have said it. If there's any ECOWAS intervention, they will be on the side of the Niger's military regime. So think about that. There's not an easy start. Even if ECOWAS will succeed, there will be a serious, implication. And that war may not end. It might not be one month business. It might just go far, far beyond that. Okay. So this is what we talk to give our voice in. Make a comment and we'll be glad. Aaron, we appreciate your comment. I mean, that's a democratic right to say what you want to say. We respect you for that. Until then, this is the African Actions Network and 2A Radio. And of course, this is Inside Liberia. So have a pleasant and a wonderful day. Remember, crisis is not good. Don't support any crisis. Don't pretend as though when you come, you're going to be safe from it. Discourage any crisis. Watch out and be a brother's keeper. See something, say something. Have a pleasant and a wonderful day.